I'm very excited. We are here with a half dozen rosés in front of us. We had a very fascinating time trying these half dozen rosés, which I'm sure for all of us, I can share, and the others present this evening. Very exciting rosé night, very enlightening rosé night. They're all available, kosherwine.com, and of course, for disclosure purposes, I do have to disclose that they were all provided for review purposes for Jewish drinking by kosherwine.com. So we started off this evening with this Sirocco, this Gris du Sud. It was pretty acidic. I think perhaps the most acidic wine, the rosé we had this evening.
I'd say shockingly acidic.
For better or for worse, it's very dry and acidic.
Yep.
There's some apple and pear off of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had apple, pear, a little bit of grassiness on the aroma, dry, late honey on the palate. But again, so dry.
Didn't taste like a rosé to me all that much. It tastes like an interesting wine, but very mild aroma, very mild on the nose, very mild on the palate, dry for sure. It didn't leave a lot on the back end.
I'm very excited to talk about this Festa Estate sparkling rosé. So I will say I was first introduced to it perhaps in the best situation, which is a long summer, 80, 90 degree Shabbat afternoon. It was super chilled. That is the best opportunity to have it. And we had it tonight and it did not disappoint. It was the absolutely most effervescent of this evening. I will say we had 5 wines from France. This is the only Italian wine. It was sparkling. This wine is just such a fun crowd. I mean, it's a crowd pleaser.
Yep.
It is undeniably. There's a sweetness to it. Yeah, it's bubbly. It is super fun.
Yeah, it's a great utility wine. Is it the fanciest or the most subtle? No, it's delicious though.
Yeah.
You again on a hot summer day, out on the porch with friends. If you break it out, there's nobody that's going to be offended by it. Everybody's going to find it refreshing, tasty. I got lemon, tangerine, strawberry on the aroma, berries, light tannins on the palate. In the finish, it's just refreshing.
Yeah. I mean, it finishes slightly dry. It's not super sweet.
No.
It's not a Moscato.
It's not saccharine.
No one would confuse it with a Moscato with the sweetness. It finishes somewhat dryly, but not super dry.
Yep.
It is just awesome.
Refreshing crowd pleaser.
Yes.
Yep.
And I think that's what I liked about it. Obviously, I like a dry wine. And I found that strawberries really coming through in both the aroma and the berries and the fruit coming through in the taste. But then the dryness added to that, I just thought was delightful. And I agree, in a hot summer day, cool this one down, put on rocks or maybe not, and just sit back and enjoy it at the pool.
The next up we had was the Summer Ice Rosé.
Aroma, a little bit of honey, a little bit of apricot. It did have a very soft mouthfeel, which was pleasant. Drank pretty refreshingly, pretty soft, grassy finish. But to me, there just wasn't a lot there.
On the one hand, it wasn't as exciting. On the other hand, it was the smoothest so far.
Yeah, it could have been the order that we tasted it in as well.
It's almost like a fermented honey.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
a non-sweet honey.
It didn't stand out to me in one direction or the other. Very drinkable, smooth, not a lot of finish, not a bad wine. I mean, it was something that you like to drink, not a real traditional rosé in the sweetness area because of the dryness. I enjoyed it though.
Fourth wine was this Abarbanel rosé. It's funny, one of the people I invited this evening said they were big fans of Abarbanel, but had no idea they had a rosé that they offered. And off the nose, this was really a fascinating nose. There's a certain sharpness to it, almost like a white wine one we might encounter.
I think we all kind of shared that. It was like, oh, this is like a nice dry white. Yeah. To me, it didn't scream rosé. It drank like a lovely white wine, which I ranked it my third because I like nice dry whites.
What I found interesting in this wine is it had an aroma and a taste of pear, and not overstrikingly, not overly sweet, but to me that gave it an interesting twist, a nice flavor profile, and it actually stayed with you on the finish a little bit in a positive way. It felt good after you took your sip and you sat for a minute and you took another sip. sat a little bit longer. So I agree. I like this wine. This was in my top 3 as well.
Thinking about the pear, it's like a slightly candied pear.
A little bit, yeah.
It's not totally dried out. It's there's a candied aspect to it as well.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Our 5th was this Éclat du Diamant. Very distinctive looking bottle, not only for the shape of the bottle, but this beautiful diamond right here. Yeah, here you go.
Wildly different opinions about this wine. Minerality, brine, earthiness. It finished with like this club soda, lemon, alkaline. I kept saying it's like drinking like Perrier almost. It was so minerally, like a mineral water. Cured meats would be kind of interesting with this. This is not like cheeses or compotes paired with wine, but something salty and savory and umami with that, to cleanse your palate with that minerality, I thought would be interesting.
This was the most divisive
It was
wine
super
of the
divisive,
evening. Yeah, so you had people on really extremes. Of the 6 we had, this was like for the first one we had, the Sirocco, that was acidic, and that had some really interesting contours of the palate. But this was, like you mentioned, more minerally, and it's enjoyable. I really liked your food pairing aspect. There at the same time were people who really liked the other rosés in the lineup and didn't particularly care for it. So it's really
and then there are those that are for their second.
Those of us that think that this was the best wine we had tonight.
Right.
And I love this wine. I absolutely love this wine. I tasted with some dark chocolate, which just brought all the flavors out of the wine and the chocolate and blended really nicely. It's not, in my mind, a traditional rosé. I have had rosés in the past, a little bit peppery, and everything that you said, I agree with it. But those are the reasons I like it. And I want to buy a bottle of it so I can have it with that dried beef jerky that I've got at home. Because I want to see how it goes with that. Excellent wine.
This brings us to our final one, the Chemins Cabernet Rosé. So this is clearly, we have a varietal.
It was my highest rated, and only because in my brain, in my mind, this is what rosé tastes like.
So it's like a quintessential rosé out of this lineup.
Yeah, to me, it was, you get a lot of red fruit, strawberry, floral, cherry. Everybody kind of around the table said, yeah, cherry. It finishes with cherry. It's refreshing. It has a nice sweet finish, not saccharine sweet, but sort of that refreshing fresh fruit finish. Not dried fruits, but fresh fruits, bright.
The first and the 5th wines had some really fascinating mouthfeels insofar as their acidity or minerality. Obviously, the Festa estate, the sparkling rosé, had that effervescence. This was my absolute favorite mouthfeel of the night. Look, I, despite my earlier professed love of the sparkling rosé, which is absolute fun, this is the most, I would say, dynamic, exciting. It is not entirely smooth as we experience with both the summer rosé and the Abarbanel. Those are smoother mouthfeels. This invites complexity.
I enjoyed it. I ranked it as my favorite for the night.
This is what I want in a rosé. I wrote down semi-sweet. The sweetness is just the right amount of sweetness. The flavor profile is around that wonderful semi-sweet cherries. And excellent. As you mentioned before, I absolutely agree with you. And I would definitely go back to this one in a summer for a nice, cool rosé.
Absolutely.
Yeah. With the warmer weather upon us between Purim, Pesach, and obviously the entirety of the summer at $17 a bottle at kosherwine.com. The price point is incredible. Grounded. It doesn't take itself too seriously.
Right.
It's exciting.
And I think one of the lovelier colors out of all the bottles have that beautiful rosé color.
It is.
This one's got a gorgeous blush, and I really did enjoy the color of it too.
Yeah. L'chaim. And of course, going to double down on my disclosure to kosherwine.com as well as a thank you. Thank you for sending these rosés. They were very insightful and enlightening. And l'chaim.